lay people is like what hand position looks like. So when you have a tin, and this works if you're shaking with a mason jar too, you want to make sure that you have both ends. You may hold across the join, right? And shake here, but really that rotation that Kayla's talking about where she's able to make a circle is because she's holding the bottom tin in such a way that it can move based on the flexion of her wrist. So she's not holding here, where her wrist doesn't naturally flex in that way. She's coming over the bottom. And I usually, like when I shake, in order to minimize the amount of mechanical strain on my wrist in directions that aren't natural, I hold my tin down in my hand like this in my fingers. If I were feeling concerned that it might go somewhere, sometimes I do this even when it's just really humid and I know my tins are gonna be slippery, I'll wrap my hand around more. But by and large, if you have a good grip, and you can see here where I have 3 fingers on the bottom and my pinky and thumb wrapped around, and that is gonna depend on what's comfortable for your hand. There are people who hold in all kinds of different configurations, but you wanna make sure that you're holding on to the top of the tin and the bottom of the tin so that it doesn't come apart. That's gonna matter less, like as you get stronger and you're able to get the inside of that chamber cold really quickly, it'll self-seal. But making sure that you're holding the bottom, because then the top, I'm gonna back up a little bit, the top of the tin can come over and help you make that circle when your wrist is able to do this, right? And so it's not that dramatic on everyone, but as you get used to that movement, your bottom hand holding that bottom tin and your top hand here is really what's gonna make sure that you are able to get good aeration and dilution. And then the other thing is to think about left-handed bartenders and right-handed bartenders probably usually shake differently. So because of where the camera was, I realized I'm demoing like I'm left-handed. Are there any lefties in the group?
No. I'm a lefty.
So most of us are stronger in our dominant hand, and your tin will come back to you naturally because you're going to hit the end of the extension on your bottom arm, right? Your elbow will reach extension, it'll come back to you. So you really want to be driving, which is where the majority of power is going to come from, with your dominant hand. So I'm going to have my left hand on the bottom, either with 3 fingers on the bottom or whatever way is comfortable for you. And then your driving hand behind. And so for me, I think about when I'm at full compression, both my elbows are fully bent, right? My right hand is not, my right elbow is going to be more bent than my left because of where the tin is. And when I'm teaching people who don't bartend how to shake, I start with the tin all the way against my sternum. Because part of what you're getting, where you're getting that movement, is the movement of your full arm. And then when I'm all the way out, my hands, actually, both my elbows are almost fully extended. They're not totally fully extended. You want some bicep tension because that's what's going to make the tin come back to you. But you have this, the back end of the tin is going to travel further than the bottom of the tin. And that roll is what makes that ice do that. That's what makes that circle. And so thinking really slowly just about getting both elbows, like both arms almost fully extended and then coming all the way back to your sternum, almost like you're rowing a boat, that is what's going to get you that aeration and texture. And then once you have that first axis of rotation, you can think about, instead of bringing your hands one on top of the other, bringing them a little bit more like this. And so your tin is going to go from here to here, here to here. And that's going to get you another axis of rotation. And that's like when you get that fucking amazing daiquiri in a bar that has a head on it, that's from that second axis of rotation. Because instead of just smacking your ice back and forth, you're rolling almost like you're making a meringue or something else, right? Like you're creating these air pockets from that top to bottom roll and the side to side roll. So first you get to this position where that feels supernatural and you're getting that good rock, and that's that circle that Kayla's talking about. And then once you have that down, you think about getting this second axis of rotation where, for all of us righties, your right hand is coming out like kind of midway between your clavicle and your right shoulder point. And that's going to get you an additional axis of rotation, and that's going to get you that fluff in your drinks. But particularly for those of you who don't bartend, bartending is incredibly physical. And so you probably need to shake your drink harder and longer than the bartender at your local. You know, I always joke when I was like a skinny, scrawny little 19-year-old, I literally went up a shirt size when I started bartending. So shake longer and shake harder than you think you need to, because you're also adding air to your cocktail when you shake it. And think about that circle. And once you kind of get that, you have these two ellipses that are happening, right? So you have end over end this way, and then you have end over end this way. And once you have those, then you can move it around wherever you want it. You can do the Japanese hard shake, which has those 3 clean snaps. You can do the chicken wing that's becoming increasingly popular amongst American bartenders who all hate their shoulders and want to blow them out. You can do whatever works for you, but whatever feels comfortable. But thinking about that
is super important, and like that's the ergonomics of it. Is like, sure, like it looks cool to shake this way, but it's just a lot more ergonomic for your shoulder and your elbow to not have and just a little bit looser, and maybe even shake a little bit lower down. Like, it looks cool to shake up here, it looks great, but like this is all shoulder tension and lat tension. So by shaking down here, that means I can work as a bartender for a few more years.
That's right. Yeah.
And when I get tired, I even bump off my sternum. And that's like a volume thing where, you know, working places where I had to make 1,000 cocktails a night, literally on a rooftop, bringing that one-handed shake across my hand and literally letting the momentum build up where it's like bicep tension brings it back and the bump off your sternum sends it out. You don't need to energy save when you're at home making 4 cocktails, but definitely like bringing things down. People don't realize how heavy cocktail tins are, and no one feels cool the next day going back and being like, oh, I have a partial bicep tear because I was shaking cocktails at home. Also, we're all old. Save your time.